episode 6. We'll look at the menu bar in Illustrator as well as how to change the windows. The main items from the menu I use up on the top are File, Edit, Object. I use Select a little bit, Effects, View, and Window. So just kind of running through these pretty quick. File, it's pretty standard. Lets you create new documents or open documents from files. You can also open PDFs right in Illustrator and edit PDFs in Illustrator if you want to do that. And then of course you got the close, save as buttons. Next is export. I like doing save for web. This allows me to export the vector artwork that is Illustrator, and you save it out as a raster image. So if you have a ton of layers, ton of shapes, your file size is going to get big pretty quick. By rasterizing it through the save for web, you're able to shrink that file size and still get a high quality image. You also want to go in and set the resolution size when you do a save for web. And then also you got your document setup that we covered in a previous episode. You can change your color mode here, and then printing. Next is edit on the top. It just has your standard copy paste. You can also do spell check right here in Illustrator. And then these are some more advanced settings down here that we're not going to get into. Next is object. If you have any type of object selected, this is where you might want to go to edit or change that object. So you just kind of have some basic transform settings up here on top, which you also have over on the right hand side or on the top here. But yeah, if you have an object and maybe it's locked, you can do an unlock here. If you hit an object, you can always show it here. And then some other tools that we're not going to cover yet, more advanced tools. But chances are if you have an object and there's something going wrong with it, you can come in here and find a solution, as well as edit objects and make them more interesting. On the type, I don't really use anything for type because I do all my type editing over here in characters or paragraphs. The one thing I do use from this menu is glyphs. Glyphs are neat because other than just your plain text, this gives you the whole font library so that you can insert some interesting letters or maybe some foreign letters. So I use glyphs in the type menu on the top. Other than that, I don't really use anything here. Next is selection. I like using the selection tool a lot. I'll give you a little example. If I do select and you say select the same fill color, it's going to select everything that has this gray fill color right here. So you see I got 3 items selected. You can also do select same stroke weight. And it's going to select the 3 objects that have that same stroke weight. And you can change that weight. So in selection, there's some useful ways to grab objects and edit them if you need to do a group selection. Next is effects. If you want to do any effects to your work, you can do them here in Illustrator. Illustrator also features Photoshop effects that we're not going to cover today, but I just want to point them out to you. Effects. Effects is a lot like objects over here, where you can then edit the shapes and give them different effects, or probably the one I use the most would be warp. Here you can get some interesting shapes. You can make things, give things perspective, add a little bit of character that way. Other than that, distort and transform is pretty popular. The other helpful menu up on top is view. This is where I kind of jump down here to the bottom, and you can change rulers, you can change guides. This is probably what I use most in the view menu. All these other tools, zoom in, zoom out, they have tools over here on the left that can do that, or some keyboard commands. And then the next very helpful one, maybe the most helpful, is window up here on the top. So up here, window, this is basically everything you see on, or when you're in Illustrator. Your tools here, your tools on top. So if I go into window and I want to change this workspace that you're looking at, you can just switch it up that way. Do essentials. You can see I don't have the tools that I usually am used to. You can maybe find something that works best for you. My favorite one is just the Essentials Classic. I like having this menu up on top, and I even have my own version of it because maybe I don't have the tools that I want over here. So you can even save your own workspace. That way, if you ever lose some tools, you can always bring them right back. So I just want to show you, if you have a workspace that doesn't really have a lot of tools, something like Essentials, and you want to edit text, you're going to want to come in here, and then this whole menu right here, all of these are the palettes that you can choose from. These are all the tools on the right hand side typically. So if I wanted to change the font, you're going to go into character. If I wanted to change my paragraph, you go into paragraph and you can click on that, and then it gives me my little Windows palette. So yeah, if you're missing anything, come in here and you can just pull out which ones you need. These also will snap to the edges, so you can arrange workspaces how you like. You can do layers of them, right? Bringing them out. You can shrink them and make sure that they're just little small icons, and then that way, this is usually how I will work. I like having a lot of screen space. So if we go back to mine, if we go back to my workspace, you can see this is usually how I have my menu when I'm in Illustrator. I like to edit text a lot, and I like to change the colors. Any of my secondary tools, I have them over here in this menu, or I can just click on them individually. You can see as they pop out, they hide my other menu, and then you just click on them again to get rid of them. But that's how I like my workspace, nice and big with just my most used tools over here on the right. And that's just my super brief overview of the menu on the top of the screen. So yeah, if you're working in Illustrator, know that everything is up here if you need it. And that concludes this episode.